Hey, hey fans, this is Big Poppin', man. I'm trying to stay away from my main cow, but he keep on finding me. You are watching Cap Sport.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Video Sports page. I'm your host, Carl Pratt. Welcome to edition number 1185. Once again, behind the scenes, Will McKinney and Rich Goulat putting it all together for us. Well, this is a very special week. If you're talking about high school football, a huge game on tap for Friday night as the Plymouth South Panthers will play host to the Plymouth North Eagles. We'll talk to some of the principals surrounding that game. We'll talk about the very successful Silver Lake boys soccer program. They were bounced from the postseason, but not before they racked up over 20 victories this fall. We'll also take a look at the Carver Crusaders under the direction of head coach Mike Freccalasi. A very impressive victory as they knocked off Hull earlier this week in convincing fashion, and they had a very strong game from one young man named Chris McGrath. And before we close this week's edition of our program, I'll spend some time with Matt Della. Matt directs the Thunder program. It's an AAU basketball program from the Kingston Sports Center. Matt also is the director of the Kingston Sports Center. And you know what? With temperatures starting to dwindle a little bit, we have to start thinking of basketball, start thinking of AAU, and more closely, we start thinking about the Thunder. But right off the top on our program, let's call on our guys behind the scenes. We have our first piece of videotape to share with you. It features the Carver Crusaders, who faced Hull for the second time this year. And this past weekend, Carver came up with an extremely impressive performance at home. Final count was 33-0. Carver Crusaders earlier in the postseason came up with a win against Old Colony 38-8. What we're going to see on tape here is number 22, Brandon Rudolph, who has a 55-yard touchdown run for the Crusaders. Then we're going to see a strong performance on defense by Chris McGrath, who picks up a fumble and rumbles for a touchdown. All we can tell you is that was one of 4 touchdowns in the game for Chris McGrath. Let's call on Rich. Let's call on Will. Let's show you the highlights featuring the Carver Crusaders.
And they're battling up on the front line of Chris Zamora, Peter Barrows. They're winning that barrel. That's Rudolph with a big run. Rudolph, he's off to the races. You're not going to catch Brandon Rudolph. Down to the 10, 5, touchdown Crusaders.
Brandon Rudolph. That's a 55-yard touchdown.
Boy, you give him some open space and you are not going to catch him. Well, he found a big hole there and just ended up getting those legs going. One of the fastest in the South Shore. Feely under center. They're going to go for 2 here. Feely looking to throw, looks, fires, wide open in the end zone. Nate Shaw picks up 2 for the Crusaders.
2-point conversion is good from Feely.
We got a fumble, the Crusaders pick it up. Down the field they go. Sidelines looking for a block. Chris McGrath. Chris McGrath heading for daylight to the 10. 5, touchdown.
Chris McGrath recovers the fumble.
So the Carver Crusaders were treated to a terrific performance by Mr. McGrath, as you could tell from our graphic and courtesy of our guys in the Carver cable system. Well, that was his 4th touchdown of the game, a super effort for Chris McGrath. And boy, Coach Freccalasi's got to be all smiles these days as his team continues to impress. They knocked Carver down a division where they belong the last couple of years, and they're certainly making their efforts felt up and down the South Shore. In fact, this coming weekend, the Carver Crusaders will play again. They will go down to the Cape before they have their annual Thanksgiving Day matchup. Well, while we're on the subject of football, there's a huge football game scheduled for Plymouth South High School on Friday. That's where the Panthers, with a record of 7-1, take on the Plymouth North Eagles, who are 7-2. Last weekend, it was the Panthers at home knocking off Dartmouth in come-from-behind fashion. Meanwhile, the Plymouth North Eagles were on the road as they went up against Dighton Rehoboth and came away with a nice come-from-behind victory. Well, during the practice session that took place on Thursday afternoon, I kept caught up with longtime Plymothian Carl Freyermouth, once served as the Eagles head coach. Now he's an assistant coach and certainly enjoys his time being around the boys. Let's take this opportunity to roll the interview I had with Carl Freyermouth. Okay, let's continue to put some focus on the huge football matchup scheduled for Friday night at Plymouth South as the Panthers play host to the Plymouth North Eagles. Second meeting of 3 possible meetings coming up here in the fall of 2013. I'm pleased to be joined by former head coach of the Eagles, now assistant coach, special teams coach, tight ends coach, Carl Freyermouth. You've been part of this town for many, many years. Let me ask you to slide in here. Do you ever think you'd see 2 Plymouth teams facing each other 3 times in 1 year?
This is the first time that's happened in the state of Massachusetts. I'm glad for the town of Plymouth. I'm especially excited for Coach Carver, and I'm excited for Coach Fry. It's a great opportunity for one of the teams to move on to the state championship.
Let's talk about it. You've been involved in high school sports for so many years, many more than you'd probably want to count. It's really a special time when you get this late in the year.
Both teams have had great years. Plymouth South early on was picked to win the league. They were expected to finish first. They did finish first. We've been middle of the pack last 2 years. This year we had a great group of seniors, and we really played well when we had to. It's great for both teams. Both teams deserve to be here. It wasn't a question of luck. The 2 best teams will be playing Friday night.
Let's talk, if we can, how this team has grown and blossomed as the year has gone on.
We have had excellent senior leadership. I want to emphasize that. We've had 4 great captains, and we've made the plays that we've had to when we've had to. It's gone well.
Everybody talks about the big man, number 5, Dylan Oxen for Plymouth South, for all the right reasons. But you've got a young man here, Christian Carr, maybe your size, my size, 18 touchdowns, 1,600 yards rushing. He's special too.
Christian Carr is a very special runner. He cuts on a dime. He sees the field very well. And number 5 down at Plymouth South there, Dylan, he's a very, very good player. He scored 61 touchdowns in 2 years. That's outstanding. Christians, they're 2 very good backs. They're 2 different style backs.
Let's talk, if we can, about the line in this team, okay? Obviously, the running backs are only as good as their line, and give them a quick hole. Who's really matured for you guys up front this year?
Offensive lines come together. Coach Abon's done a fabulous job with the offensive line. Kenny Drew, and we've been very fortunate. Gavin Johnson's done a nice job at the center position. The guards have done a good job. Donnie Stott has done a good job at tackle. We do miss Jack Gallagher. He got nicked middle of the year, and we've lost him. But the offensive line's really gelled together. And probably our biggest surprise is Justin Cabral. As a sophomore, he's really matured, come a long way.
Let me ask you, though, being an assistant coach, even though you've been around football your entire life, how much different is it for you? You're a retired teacher now. Football is your whole life. You come out here in the afternoon. It keeps you going, puts a little spark in your life. How about how much different it is in your own personal preparation?
When you deal with 16 and 17-year-olds, you never know what's going to happen. So there's a lot of ups and a lot of downs. Their lives are mountains and valleys. I enjoy being here very much. This is the creme of the creme. The nicest kids in the world. They work hard. They're great kids, and if they weren't great kids, I wouldn't be here.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot. Let me ask you, you've touched so many lives over the years, so many special athletes. When you look at the kids now, they're really focused now on one sport more than they used to be in the past. And if a kid's a good basketball player, he puts a lot of time there year-round. Football, you can't do it as much, but these kids aren't like the old days when you played 3 sports and you played whatever sport was in season.
Right now, there are more offerings and more kids involved with more athletic programs. The numbers are increasing. We encourage the kids to play all sports. We want them to be active. I think the key is competition. Competition is the best thing in the world. So I think we want the kids to wrestle, want them out for track, we want them to play baseball. It all ties together. All the coaches work together.
We'd have to go back some 52 years when Carl Freyermouth played high school football, and don't want to date him, but when you played high school football, you played with rocks and gravel and so forth out at Seaver Field, which everybody knows as a baseball field. But how about now what you and I are standing on, AstroTurf? Did you ever think that?
It's unbelievable. Leather helmets, 1 bar, and I had a block for Punchy Keller. That's what I remember.
There you go. Well, listen, we're going to let you go, but before you sneak away, talk about it one final note. 2 Plymouth teams playing each other. Should be a great night in Plymouth on Friday night.
Going to be a lot of people there. It's very exciting, and I know our team is looking forward to it, and I'm certain South is too.
Appreciate
Kyle,
your
thank
time.
you very much.
All right, Kyle Freyermuth joining us during tonight's coverage here on the Video Sports Page as we continue to preview the matchup between South and North. 7 o'clock kickoff down at Plymouth South. We'll continue with more, so stay with us. Well, as you could tell, Kyle Freyermuth gave us some time, but it was time for special teams action at practice. You could tell he was trying to break away from us, but we appreciate his time, his enthusiasm, and there's a guy that absolutely loves coaching football. Well, the Eagles are going to go into this matchup against the Plymouth South Panthers with loads and loads of talent. It should be a battle between two outstanding running backs. You heard us talk in the interview with Kyle Freyermuth about Dylan Oxen. Let's talk a little bit about Christian Carr. How about Christian Carr so far this season for the Eagles? 265 carries, 1,643 yards, and 18 touchdowns. He had 3 last week as he helped the Eagles with a come-from-behind victory against Dighton Rehoboth. Brandon Green has 3 touchdown receptions. On the defensive side, there's people like Pat Danner, Colby Randall, Trevor Devlin, just to name a few. Head coach Kevin Cobbin really counting on his boys. They expect a huge crowd to be on hand when the Plymouth South Panthers play host to the Plymouth North Eagles on Friday night. Then, of course, they do meet again on Thanksgiving Day. And, you know, speaking of the Plymouth South Panthers, what an effort they had last Friday night in very, very cold temperatures down at Plymouth South. I mean, it's always cold down there if you're familiar with that setting. Well, they trailed 7-0 at halftime, and things looked kind of bleak. Their star running back, Dylan Oxen, had only 26 yards rushing in the first half. But he came out in the second half because he missed most of the second quarter because of a hand injury. Let me not forget that. But he came out in the second half and looked like a different runner, a little more bounce in his step, and certainly Dartmouth paid the price for that. We have an opportunity to share with you some of the highlights as Dylan Oxen and his teammates had a great come-from-behind victory. This was all part of the Cap Sports Game of the Week earlier this week. If our guys are ready behind the scenes, let's show you Plymouth South against Dartmouth. Dartmouth wants to go the air pressure coming to the near side, and it's picked off. Morrissey with a great read on the play, stepped right in front of the intended receiver, and right at the goal line, Morrissey stepped in front of Jacob. 30, 25, 23. I look at 18 plays for South in the third quarter, 7 for. All right, welcome back, everybody. Here we go with the fourth quarter of play, 7-7 football game. Here's Oxen getting the handoff on a 4th down play. He's got the first down, and he's going to have a touchdown, his second touchdown of the football game. Dylan Oxen shooting down the left side, 23 yards for a Panther touchdown, his second touchdown of the football game, 21 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and he just
stepped out of that tackle, knocked over another guy, knocked over a third guy, sold some popcorn, bought a Coke, and somehow got 12 yards out of it. That's just pure Dylan Oxen.
Yep. 145 yards rushing now. 1st and 10 from the 45-yard line. Shortall. He's got a simple job now. Look at Oxen. Take the pitch. He's got one man to beat. Oxen in the open field, and he's putting it into high gear. Oxen taking it all the way. 45-yard touchdown run with 8:23 to go. Dylan Oxen with his 3rd touchdown of the ball game. And we don't want to sound like prophets, but we mentioned at halftime at any time this game could swing with one big run.
I think the word I used, and I continue to use, been fairly quiet.
1st and 10 from the 39 after the 14-yard pickup. Smith goes in motion. It's a running play and not a lot of running room right up the middle. 54, Hardy is there. Ball carrier was Jack McCabe, 43.
Like I said, Dartmouth uses a lot of people to run the ball, and they're not having much of an advantage right now in the middle of the field. The Hardys and Sean Duncombe are doing a good job keeping those holes there fairly small.
Well, for Dartmouth, it continues to be a Hardy boys mystery trying to run up the middle.
Ugh.
2nd and 7 from the 42. Donovan there on the coverage. Look at Donovan. Let's stay with him for a moment. Look at all those stickers on the back of his helmet. They're not there for no specific reason. They're there. Okay, welcome back, everybody. As we continue with our post-game activities, I'm pleased to be joined by a very cold head coach, Scott Frye, but a warm heart, I would imagine.
Yeah, you know, it was pretty cold out here today. You don't realize it until at the end of the game, but obviously you can stand up with the outcome that we had.
Let's talk a little bit if we can, because this was not your game after the first half.
No, you know, we didn't play very well in the first half. They kind of controlled the line of scrimmage a little bit on us. Field position was big. We didn't really take advantage of many of the mistakes they had, so it wasn't a very good first half.
Well, you certainly took advantage of the second half, starting with Shenna recovering the fumble, but how about when it was a 7-7 game, the timely interception at the goal line by Morrissey?
Yeah, no, it was a big play. We kicked off, they returned the ball, then we had a penalty, put the ball in about the 25-yard line. Obviously didn't want to be there. Sophomore, Morrissey comes up big with an interception, gets tackled in the end zone, puts the ball in the 20, was huge for us.
No surprise, unofficially, well, it's officially. Why do I say unofficial? 34 carries, 231 yards, 3 touchdowns for Dylan Oxen. He had only 26 yards rushing in the first half.
Yeah, you know, he got hurt and a little banged up, you know, in the first half, so we obviously didn't carry the ball as much as we would have liked to give him the ball. He had obviously a really strong second half.
Up from the broadcast area, we call the guys who carry the ball, who throw the ball. Who do you like in the line? Because people really stepped up like Hardy.
You know, Bernard, again, he doesn't get all the recognition that he deserves at center. And some of those big plays, we actually pull our center, which a lot of high school teams don't do. He's athletic enough and still strong enough to do those things.
Your game's been over by just a few minutes now, but I know you got your moles out there working. You know Plymouth North has already won. You're going to be back here against North this coming Friday.
Yeah, you know, in looking into the season when these playoffs start, we thought that's what we were going to meet up with them. You know, Coach Carver and I are very good friends, and we're kind of hoping it would be the last round and final round, which is the way it worked out.
Boy, if anybody saw the video sports page this week, you heard Kevin Cobbin say, Scott and Fry and I are very good friends and we talk all the time. So I don't know if it's Cobbin's body inside Fry's or Fry's inside of Cobbin, but he reemphasized what you may have seen this past Thursday. A very cold night. We appreciate the accommodations. We're looking forward to that rematch and covering your program. Boy, you're on the map now. You got to feel really good because you're not sneaking up on people. You guys have the target on your back.
You know, really, I'm really proud of these kids. And Dartmouth's a really good quality program, an old Colony League team in a big high school, and you know, for us to come out and beat them and really play well in the second half speaks volumes of our kids.
Well, go enjoy the kids, enjoy your family, enjoy the victory. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, head coach Scott Frye joining us. All right, head coach Scott Frye and the Plymouth South Panthers will play host to the Plymouth North Eagles Friday night starting at 7 o'clock. The winner of that will play the following Friday, then Thanksgiving, and then they earn a spot in the high school Super Bowl. So either way, Plymouth should be in the postseason. All right, before we close this week's edition of our program, we have to take a few moments now and tell you that North-South matchup, you can see it on this cable system next Tuesday night starting at 8 o'clock. So we hope you join us for that as we have the Eagles and the Panthers. Let's put some focus now on high school soccer, more specifically the Silver Lake Boys Varsity program. A terrific regular season, 17 wins and 1 tie under the direction of Coach Dan Correa. The Silver Lake Boys Varsity team ends up going in as the #1 seed in the Division I South Sectional lineup. All they did is walk through their opponents, outscoring them in the first 3 games 16-2. They win the South Sectional Championship, but then they go up against a very good team from Somerville in the Eastern Massachusetts final back on Tuesday. And unfortunately, they lose a tough one there by a score of 2-1. And losing there in a tough game against Somerville, they finished the year at 21-1-1. Let's back up the clock to that big victory in the South Sectional Final. And in that particular game, they had to come from behind. And Paul Beatty, who had a terrific regular season, scores with 2 minutes left in regulation. Then he scores in the second overtime to clinch that South Sectional Championship. So a league championship from the Patriot League, a South Sectional Championship, and an Eastern Massachusetts berth. Congratulations to the Silver Lake Boys Varsity Soccer team for a terrific year. Congratulations to the Duxbury Volleyball team making it all the way to the South Sectional Finals. They were 18-0 in the regular season. Let's move along with this week's edition of our program. With the temperatures going down very fast, we know soon fall sports will be a thing of the past. We'll have to start talking about hockey and basketball. And it comes at a number of different levels. More specifically, let's talk about AAU basketball. Let's talk about travel basketball. More specifically, let's talk about the Kingston Sports Center. That's where I picked up an interview earlier this week with Matt Della. Let's call on our guys behind the scenes. Let's roll the interview I had with Matt. Okay, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. I'm pleased to be joined by Matt Della. Matt directs the Thunder program. It's a very successful AAU program out of Kingston. He also runs the Kingston Sports Center. And Matt, you've got your hands full. Your season's right around the corner.
Yeah, you know, we're only a couple months away from AAU season. Trials will kick off in February, but, you know, it's still football season, Kyle. The Plymouth North and South game is this Friday night. It's a big game, and Silver Lake just had a great run in the boys' soccer. So, you know, we know other teams have things going on, but we're looking forward to our season.
Well, it's good that you keep your eyes open to a lot of things going on in our viewing area. And when you see successful high school teams, obviously a lot of these players have younger brothers and sisters that like sports as well.
No, absolutely. We see a great crossover between kids that play for the Thunder program or any of the events in our facility versus the kids in the local high school scene. You know, it's great. We have a board inside our facility highlighting all the players that play for us and their high school accomplishments.
And what about the idea when you see kids come in with a Silver Lake soccer jersey on or a Plymouth North football shirt on and so forth? You know they play multiple sports.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and we stress that too. You know, we're a basketball facility by trade, but we certainly don't want kids to be one-dimensional. We think it's important that they play other sports.
Well, let's talk about it if we can. This Kingston Sports Center has gone through some transformations over the last several years. You and I just came out of the facility. You've got your courts all done over. It's almost like a brand new state-of-the-art facility.
Oh, absolutely. We just expanded our lobby over the summer, and we now have 2 flat-screen TVs in there now. We can view your program. And we redid the basketball floors, as you mentioned. We have a brand new concession stand, so we're looking forward to it.
Let's talk a little bit. What makes the Thunder unique? You've been connected with them for just a short time, but obviously you bring loads of enthusiasm to the program.
Yeah, we have a great there's a lot of benefits to the Thunder. We have a deal with Adidas where all of our Thunder players have Adidas uniforms. We had a great night at the Celtics last night. A bunch of our players played at the Celtics on the parquet floor before the Celtics game. You know, there's a lot of benefits to playing with the Thunder.
And let's talk a little bit, if we can, because you also host a lot of travel basketball before Thunder begins in the spring again.
Oh, absolutely. We have 4 tournaments coming up this year, 4 travel basketball tournaments for both boys and girls, grades 4 through 8. We have Thanksgiving, Christmas, February vacation, and so we cap it off with the St. Patty's Day tournament.
And obviously you and I also spoke about the idea there's going to be a girls' showcase coming up. It's further down the road, but it's something you're pretty excited about.
It is. You know, we had our first boys' showcase in the fall, and that went tremendous. You know, we had over 30 colleges, Division 2 and 3, come down and look at some of the boys we had in our program and from the surrounding areas as well. The girls showcase will be in the summer, and we expect the same kind of turnout.
Well, let's talk a little bit, if we can, about the idea. You've been involved in sports your whole life. This is a little bit unique. This isn't like signing up for recreation basketball. It's pretty competitive. There's some travel involved, but there's also a great sense of accomplishment when you're successful.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we had 2 state champions for our AU program last year. We had our girls' 5th grade team that I happen to coach lost in the U.S. Junior National Finals down in Pennsylvania. So we try to set the bar a little bit higher than your normal travel program.
All right, as you can tell from our graphic, this week on the Video Sports Page, I'm joined by Matt Della. Matt is the director of the Thunder program. It's an AAU program that comes out of Kingston. He also runs the Kingston Sports Center, but on a side note, you're going to get involved with some high school sports here at Silver Lake.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. You know, myself and Brian Clark, who's one of the managers here, we're going to be 2 sub-varsity coaches for the Silver Lake boys team, so we're really excited about that.
All right, before I let you sneak away, if you had a message to send out to people in our viewing area about getting your kids involved with travel basketball, if you think your kid's a little bit special or has a little more zest for the sport, how could you sell them on it?
Absolutely. You know, if they want to visit our website, KingstonSportsCenter.com, or give us a call down here at the sports center. We'd be happy to speak to them about it. We offer private instruction, small group instruction, you know, anything to really help someone take their game to the next level.
Well, you've helped make our program this week. Good plug at the beginning of our program for that big North-South matchup. Of course, that comes up second time. They're going to meet 3 times before the year's over. They'll meet again on Thanksgiving. Matt, we appreciate spending some time with you, and keep the program running, and good luck with the Thunder.
No problem. Thank you, Carl.
All right, Matt Della joining us this week on the Video Sports Page. We'll continue with more, so stay with us. And as we continue with this week's edition of our program, if you weren't with us back at the tail end of August, I had an opportunity to catch up with XANDER Bogaerts long before he ever stepped on the field for postseason baseball. Very interesting character from Aruba. Let's replay the interview I had with XANDER Bogaerts. Okay, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. I'm pleased to be joined by XANDER Bogaerts of the Boston Red Sox, and let's talk about it. Your first Major League trip up here with the big guys. Got to be some fun.
Yeah, so far it's exciting. We're in a pennant race, so it makes it definitely more exciting, you know.
Let's talk about the guys you look around, guys you've seen on TV and so forth. Do you sometimes go back to the hotel or where you're staying and say, hey, I'm on the same field as Big Papi, and you know what I mean?
I remember, you know, a few years back, you see Pedroia, you see David Ortiz, you admire them, you want to be just like them, and, you know, now you're playing with them, you know, so hopefully a lot of hard work, and hopefully I'll become one of them, you know. What
about the idea when you get brought up and you're not in the lineup every single day, but you're able to learn from the sidelines? Are you taking it all in?
Yeah, man, I'm definitely not mad at all when I'm not in the lineup because it's another day to learn something, you know, sitting from in the dugout, talking to all the veteran guys, so I'm definitely, if I'm not playing, I definitely learn off the field.
Let's talk about growing up, because there wasn't any high school baseball, I believe, for you, was there?
No, so I just played on hard rock fields, not the best fields, but I mean, that's what we do back home, you know.
But you do other sports. You did other sports growing up. What were you good at? Basketball? Do you like basketball?
Yeah, I did basketball, soccer, volleyball. So I did a lot of different things, you know. Yeah, I like to be active, so.
How about being from Aruba? You know, that's where everybody wants to go for a vacation. Where do Arubians want to go?
They want to stay home, I guess. Yeah, I would say definitely for me, you know, because it's such a beautiful island.
And how about the idea, I think I read or heard, where you speak 4 different languages?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking in English. What do they speak in Aruba? What do they carry?
They speak Spanish, Dutch, Papiamento. That's a native language. That's what we speak mostly back home. But I actually speak English at home.
All right, before I let you sneak away, if you had to tell a young kid, you're not that far from high school, as you know, removed from high school. So the young kids watching my show, what could you tell them as a young guy about your experience to this point?
I mean, it's a lot of hard work, you know. It's not like you're gonna wake up and the next day and in the major leagues, you know. A lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and just keep going for it.
Well, listen, we appreciate spending some time with. Good luck this season and the rest of your career.
Thanks a lot, I appreciate it, man.
You bet. Okay, XANDER Bogaerts joining us this week on the Video Sports Page.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just about out of time. We'd like to thank you for yours and invite you back with us again next week for another edition of our local sports program. A big thank you to Rich Goulat, and likewise to Will McKinney. I've been your host, Carl Pratt. Health and wisdom from the Video Sports Page.